Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in and making GPS a part of your afternoon routine. So on today's show, we are going to be talking about the hot button topic that has captured the attention of the entire nation, it seems. And I am speaking of none other than illegal immigration, but we're going to be looking at this from a totally different perspective, perhaps one that you may not have heard as yet, or certainly not have considered. We are going to be talking today about a solution idea that seems to have evaded all of the stakeholders involved, but perhaps may be the thing that is needed to solve this problem once and for all. It involves technology. It involves having knowledge about the World Wide Web and how technology can be put to use to solve all manner of problems involved in this vexing, ongoing challenge that the nation faces. And who better to bring us up to speed as it relates to anything technology driven than the one and only married man nowadays. I haven't seen you since you tied the knot, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. I try to I'd say blend the current with the future.
I want you to tell Eden Mary I take my hat off to her because she's the one who locked you down.
Yeah.
She failed where others have tried.
Yeah. She had won a long time ago. I just never told her.
Yeah, she must be a remarkable woman.
Yes.
Alan Johnson down. No, but seriously, congratulations.
Yeah, no, let me tell people what happens is she doesn't just stimulate my loins, she stimulates my mind.
That's the ticket right there.
Yeah.
That is the ticket right there. Well, congratulations to you both. I'm wishing you both a long, happy marriage, one filled with lots of laughter and love and blessings from above. I wish you guys the happiest marriage. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And for those of you who haven't as yet recognized the voice, the guest today is C. Alan Johnson. And C. Alan and I have been talking about the approach that we are going to be discussing on the show today for a little while. And I keep saying, boy, Alan, this sounds like something we got to bring on the show because I don't know why, but it seems that nobody, or at least the stakeholders involved in this thing, have not thought to look in this direction. And I'm going to leave it to him to give his opinion as to why that is. But see, Alan believes that he has a very simple solution to a very complex problem that involves technology. Technology, and the one thing that no two people have exactly alike. So you're talking about I can't fool you and you can't fool me because we all have a unique one of these that no one else on the planet has. We're talking something as simple as fingerprints.
Yep.
No one else in the entire planet has my fingerprints. No one else in the entire planet has your fingerprints. So why are we relying on things that can easily be duplicated when we have something that is unique to you and only you that could be put to use to handle this problem? See, Alan, bring us up to speed as relates to how technology can create this digital wall, for want of a better term, this invisible barrier that can stem the flow of illegal immigrants to the Bahamas.
First, let me just first answer the question you asked, like why nobody wants technology. When you
Mhm.
take your fingerprints and combine it with your other biometrics, your eyes, your DNA, and a whole bunch facial recognition, everything else, it makes it almost virtually impossible to fake you in the natural world.
Mhm.
The reason why is there's a multi-billion-dollar answer to the question as to why people do not want this to be done. And a good example of that came from the president of the Contractors Association
Mhm.
and other individuals, where he said 70%, if you stop illegal migration, 70% of my workforce will disappear. Now, I
Mhm.
want people to pause for a second to say, an industry, one of the major top three pillars of the country, says that 7 out of every 10 workers needs to be here irregular,
Mhm.
illegal, or whatever it is. I want people to pause for a moment and say that and
Mhm.
think about that. So it is, and the fact is that isn't it possible to get those same workers here legally? Why do we say they have to be illegal? Shouldn't it be 70% of my workforce is foreign? Not that's a see, because what it does, it allows individuals to be taken advantage of.
Mhm.
You don't have to pay national insurance. You don't have to pay health. You don't have to pay housing. You don't have to pay anything. And then you don't pay them anything also. So if you were to take 60,000 illegals, underpay them by $100 a week, mind you, they underpay them way more than 100. I just want people to understand the figures.
Mhm.
You would have saved $300 million in salary. Now, because you have paid the illegals, underpaid them by $100. Just if you put it at $200, well, construction workers should get five and they're only getting 300. They have saved $600 million in salary. Now, I want you to consider the fact that now that they're underpaying these people, it caused a depression in the Bahamian economy, so now Bahamians must compete. When you look at the Bahamian workforce, you're now adding another $1.3 billion in savings. So every single year, by keeping the flow of illegals into this country, they are saving $2 billion a year in salaries that they have to pay out. That's a lot of money. Now, and that goes to the bottom line of these people in these industries. Now, we always talk about this, livable wage. And
Mhm.
people say $650 a week is too much to pay a Bahamian. But what they don't do, they don't contrast that against the Bahamian economy. The Bahamian economy is $16 billion when you take into effect. We just showed you where these guys are are making millions and millions and millions of dollars without it being impacted anywhere. So $16 billion. If you was to pay every single worker in the Bahamas $250,000, about $650, you would have only used up 50% of the GDP. Remember, the GDP is the salaries and wages paid to individuals and profits made by companies. So essentially, you would have only paid every single person in the Bahamas $8 billion. Everybody in the workforce, $8 billion. And I'm surprised that the unions have not done this either. And you'd still have $8 billion a year in profit. But here's what happens. If they get stuck at $650 a week and they keep spending that money into the economy rather than the $250 or $260 they're doing right now, the economy will most likely grow easily to $20 billion. So they would still be getting paid $8 billion, and they would have 100% of what they claim now is the current economy of $12 billion. But what it does then, it sets a living standard that causes individuals to actually want more. See, the mistake people say an educated person demands empowerment. That's not true. It's the other way around. An empowered person demands better education.
Mm.
And the more educated they become, the more empowered they become. But it starts with empowerment, not with education. And so this is why when you start talking about technology is almost immutable nowadays. When you use biometrics, it eliminates fraud. Fraud in the Bahamas, we're seeing visas being sold, we're seeing work permits and all these other different things being sold.
Mm-hmm.
You can only imagine, because we have no access to a digital database, there's probably thousands of work permits floating around that people just have to show. The problem now is fixing the immigration problem by digitizing it requires you to also digitize the birth records. It requires you to digitize the passport office. It requires you to invoke a digital ID in the country. It also requires you to digitize the labor force. So you see where this immutable thing where no fraud, no corruption, the computer doesn't know that you're connected to this MP or this party or this connector or this hookup. In fact, here's what digitalization does. I just want you to imagine that you are in a computer with your complete digital information, because people always say they're concerned about privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that even your DNA and your medical history is all part now of this digitized process. Just like they have in Singapore and Estonia and Norway, all these places we have. I just want you to imagine that in Norway just recently, a doctor went to prison for just looking at a patient file without authorization. He went to prison.
Wow.
Because every single time somebody accesses your data, you get an alert. And you go, why is this person looking at my data? I didn't give authorization, nor did I make application anywhere for anybody to access my data. You want that? It's the ultimate form of privacy. And so your information now, what happens now though, the greatest fear in this country is digitization will go and void it may void a whole bunch of citizenships that's been issued, thousands of work permits that's been issued, invalidate marriages. All of these things will purge. JPs would most likely have to go to jail for notarizing 1,000 documents. That's like, you see, find out the JP's been notarizing, saying he knew somebody once every 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And on islands that he'd never been to, people he'd never met, notarizing documents for dead people. All of these things, the computer doesn't care. So when you ask the computer, if you pay attention, you have ChatGPT and GPT-3 and this artificial intelligence. Ask a question, and the computer answers it. It doesn't care if somebody goes to jail or somebody violates the law. So once these databases have been created, we get to ask questions like, when did this person appear? Because the school records are not digitized also.
Mm-hmm.
This young child who all of a sudden shows up and applies at 18 says that they were born in the Bahamas, but they have no record. They got an affidavit.
You can't find no birth certificate nowhere.
No birth certificate or no records in any other department or anywhere, not even education. Nowadays, you could go and fake some educational paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's digitized, the computer will flag that automatically, saying the first time this person was seen in the Bahamas was at 11 years old. There's no medical records. There's no birth records, there's no school records, there's no church records, and you could even go through an investigative process and go back to the neighborhoods that this individual is to see if other students and other people recognize the child. And we can do this retroactively. This is where the fear is. The fear is that you may right size the Bahamas with the illegality. Now, let me say to individuals what we can do. One of the most powerful things that everybody's talking about, nobody's talking about, protecting the citizenship. They're talking about it, but they're not talking about the house. Let's first go to number 7 in the Constitution. I don't have it in front of me, but number 7 in the Constitution says any person born to a Bahamian, born in the Bahamas, has a right to apply for citizenship at 18. Okay, good. What they don't do is they never read part 2 of that. Number 7, giving you the right to apply for citizenship, is 2 parts. The second part says the first part that gives you the right is subject to number 2 for national security and for policy of the government. The policy and national security could simply be that the parent has to have been in the Bahamas legally. They could go to Parliament and do this right now and end this whole conversation. I just wish the people would stop this garbage about, oh, we need to change number 7 of the Constitution. Why don't you go read number 7 first before you say change it? Because the rules for you, in fact, all policies can be put into law. So we could put into law right now that anybody seeking to be registered under this act, parents should have some documentation as to the legality of their presence in the Bahamas. That ends the conversation right then and there. For all those individuals who have been here illegally, let me tell you something. Bahamians may not realize it. We have been selling citizenships for decades. What do I mean by that? Where else you could come into the Bahamas, get a low-paying job, say you stayed on the job for 10 years, and then apply to be a citizen. Just because you didn't come here, you came here to work. You didn't come here to build a country. You came here to work, and you said, I've been here working long enough that I should have all rights and privileges that you that was born here and been here all your life has, because I came here as a disadvantaged person and I worked for long enough for you to make me a citizen. Garbage. So again, we need to now address a time limit on work permits or a gap. So you come on a work permit, you work for 3 years, there has to be a 1-year gap before you can continue on another work permit. Are you trying to tell me that there's no other gardeners anywhere in the world, even Haiti or Jamaica or someplace else? There's a gap. And so, in fact, I am one to support the position that work permits should be on a yearly basis permanently, not no multiple years. And here's how it works. The first year, let's say you're charging $2,000. The second year, it's $5,000. The third year, $7,000. The fourth year should be equal to your salary and compensation. Very easy. If they're paying you your salary, and it's such an emergency, they're paying you your salary, housing, everything, whatever that amounts to is what you should pay for your work permits. And I can tell you it works, because they do it in Cayman and other places. After your work permit expires, if you want to stay, your salary, your work permit fee is equal to the salary being paid. That means you could stay, but you'll work for free. Now, and these are not like revolutionary ideas. Here's what happens. We're saying we're suffering from shanty towns. And I want you to notice how all the activists, especially advocates for those in the country illegally, never ever talk about what the real problem of shanty towns are. The government knows it too.
But see, Alan, you're going too fast, too far.
Okay. Let's go back to the biometrics and come back to housing. Let's go back to the biometrics.
Yeah, because we got a 2-hour show to fill. You ready? You know.
Oh, we have plenty to talk about. Listen, the biometrics. When we first must start with an ID system for anybody in the Bahamas over the age of 16. Since we give them permission to have sex, we need to be able to identify that at least if you have an ID, that means I know you should have sex. So I just a crude joke, but anyone over 16 should carry a national ID system. Period. That ID system will be based on your biometrics, all your information. In fact, the passport should also move to biometrics because, in case you don't know, is that we only need to go back to 1998. Just Google it. It's in the Tribune and the Guardian. In 1998, a sting happened right here in the Bahamas with the FBI working with some Haitians and, and an informant. And they found that passports and work permits were being sold for upward of $15,000 right in the Bahamas, 2018. Now, you may remember under minutes where it came up and they named the persons who were sitting in the hierarchy of the immigration, and they came out and denied that that's not our policy. Of course, it's not your policy to commit a crime. It doesn't mean that you don't commit crime. And it says that there was going to be a rigorous investigation. It is now 2023. In 5 years, we have not heard the result of individuals who are doing time in federal prison for illegal Bahamian documents, and they named the people in immigration who they bought these documents, and they said multiple of these documents has been bought, who they've worked with, and nothing has happened to those individuals. Nothing at all.
Before you go any further, one step at a time. This biometric system of which you're speaking, which obviously will have to turn everything upside down, because it's not just going to apply, as you pointed out, to immigration, but now it's going to impact many other things as well. This biometric system, how expensive is it to set that up, and how difficult will it be to set that up? Let's start there.
$1 a person. After that, it's just security. Because it's a base software that you keep adding people to. And we can grow into it. Because what happens is once the biometrics just identifies who you are positively, your facial, your iris, which is your eyes, your hand, your fingerprints, even your footprints. And that's why they used to do that for babies. And you just collect the biometrics of who you say you are. Now you have this, forget you don't even know my name is C. Allen Johnson.
So would this biometric system be incorporated in this national ID card that you're talking about? So in other words, you scan something and all that information comes up.
Yes, absolutely. When I walk in for an ID system, essentially you could use it, you could do the initial point of contact to be the ID system, and you could have multiple points of input. But once I'm established in that database and I go to any government department, I don't need an ID. I just need to carry my fingerprint on my face. Just walk in the door, stand there, put my fingerprint on the biometrics keypad, and automatically identifies that I am who I say I am.
Right. And I think it sounds like something from the Twilight Zone for those of you listening. Every time you travel to the United States, you do this.
Absolutely. In fact, you submit your fingerprints when you go for your visa in other places. We've been doing it for decades now to other places. We just have not adopted it for our own. In fact, Facebook and Google knows you better than any government in the world because they've been collecting all your pictures you've been posting on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and everything. They've all been subject to biometrics. In fact, they have some underlying technology that actually knows your behavior. That's why you get to see what you see. And you both of us could be sitting on the same computer, on the same TikTok, and get two different feeds on Instagram, two different feeds. They know who you are. In fact, the data that's available to you right now could actually tell them when you go pick up some medication, if you want to think to tell you, Mr. Johnson, don't take that. It's gonna interact with the other medication you're taking and get out dead. They can tell you when you're hungry. The information is already there. We can't avoid this. The question is, how do we utilize this to know who we say they are? I want you to understand it's another part of biometrics. The most powerful part, the most valuable asset you have is your DNA. That solves all the problems. How we have this case about to come down from the Privy Council concerning citizenship, where a guy could simply say, or a woman could say, C. Allen is the father. You can't fake DNA. So you could say I'm the father all you want because I'm a Bahamian and you want your child to be registered now as a Bahamian at birth. Just invoke that in the law. You must, the child, we always know it's mommy's baby and daddy's maybe. In the Bahamas, I'm putting to you that we're gonna have to check some mothers too, because they have some children with some women who has been given to them, and they have been pretending to be the mothers of these babies, so they can actually fit into the system. So, but DNA will verify mother and father as part of the whole system. Now, hold on now, Michelle is gonna scare some people with this. You know them, all them former MPs and business people. One of them kids might go to the thing and ask them, "Who's my real daddy?" And the computer say, "It's Sir, it's Judge, whatever." He said, "But I thought, no, sir, it's not. According to the DNA,
Right.
your real daddy is." But it'll work itself out, because the truth never hurts anyone. It's painful, but it never kills. And so that's where a lot of people do not want the truth to ever be known. You know how come you have some people who say some Conky Joes never made it over the hill?
Mhm.
They might be knocking on some door and say, "I came for some of my daddy fortune." But that's the drawback. But what happens though is, when a person is planning to come to the Bahamas, they too must submit to a full biometric input into the computer.
Before they even get here.
Before they even get here. Because, in fact, individuals, when we're talking about these individuals who comes from the South and other countries, they come. The beauty about this, you can come from the Bahamas, get deported today, change your name and come back tomorrow, get deported again, change your name and keep coming back. The biometrics would tell us instantly that we deported this person. But here's where we have a law. Let's talk about immigration. When you are removed from the Bahamas, we must have a law that you will be sentenced to 18 months in prison for entering the Bahamas illegally. Anybody found guilty of entering the Bahamas gets an automatic 18-month prison sentence.
What
Now,
jail did you put all of them in?
huh?
What jail did you put all of them in?
Here's my point. The sentence is immediately suspended. And so we put you on a flight. The only reason for you to come back to the Bahamas would be to do your jail sentence. If you enter the Bahamas illegally, we don't have to find you guilty again. You'd have violated, your sentence says, should you enter the country without consent again, you have violated the terms of your previous sentence, which was suspended. And so now you will go straight to prison.
Yeah, but again, what jail do you put all of them in? Because
it's easy.
Because I like what I'm hearing. Only challenges, and we heard it from recordings, you know, where they say you could pick me up and send me home. Next month I could be right back, and there's no guarantee that you could catch them next time they try to come.
But that's we are going to see. But then we're going to come back now to this digital Chinese wall. Let's talk first about immigration. You said what to do with the prison. I don't care if we privatize the prison. We'll build a space big enough for them. Eventually, you would find out that a minority of them will come back to do prison time. A minority of them. In fact, they're not going to immigration. They're going to prison when they come back.
Yeah, but these are people who are willing to take the risk of possibly dying at sea. So I dare say that going to prison is a lot less bad than dying at sea. So
should they survive the sea journey, they don't expect to do prison time. They expect to be integrated into the economy. And this is where the digital ID comes in. The first thing you will do is you'll also pass a law making every person in the Bahamas, even the illegals, an immigration officer. Make them all immigration officers, virtual officers.
Explain.
Here's what happens. The law says anyone being employed to the Bahamas is subject to verification against a database for individuals authorized to work in the Bahamas, whether it be citizens, residents, or work permit holders. You just check. So you come to work for Sea Island. Sea Island is required to verify your ID across the national database. And it'll tell you if you're authorized to work, and if you have a work permit, it'll tell you who you should be working for, because you don't have a work. There's no such thing as an open work permit in the Bahamas.
Right.
You're working for someone or whatever else. So
Mhm.
automatically, that stops these open work permit system. When a person, let me come back to attachment. Let's stick with the idea of how everybody become an immigration officer. The current fine is $5 and $10 and $20,000 for individuals that hire somebody illegally. I want you to stop for a minute and say a reward system will be given for 20% of any fine levied to anybody reporting someone working illegally. So the illegal guy might report himself just to get the grant to go home. So, but imagine now you go to work and you have Peter next to you, and you go, "Hey, Peter, man, you ever got your immigration thing sorted out?" He's like, "Nah, man, I'm waiting on my paperwork now." And you say, "Oh, crap, man. Hold on a second, man. My phone ringing. Let me go talk to my wife." "Hi, immigration. There's a guy right here, right now, named Peter. He's at such and such place. He got on a yellow shirt, on blue jeans, and on blue hat. He's here illegally. Here's his name, whatever." Immigration officer could run that through the computer. There's only two things they do: find out he's authorized or unauthorized or unknown. And they'll come there, arrest him, charge the place of employment where he's employed, collect the $5,000, and give you the grant. They won't even know it's you because you'll have another digital ID system that simply pays you. Everybody in the Bahamas now is an immigration officer. Period. But first of all, the first stop is the ID system, where when you employ somebody, it actually authorizes it. They have something in the US called Real ID system and a social security verification system where they punch in your information and it verifies right there on the spot. Just that the US have some of the very loopholes, except we are smaller databases, smaller demographics. So we get to close these loopholes because we don't have a population of size that they have. And it's good that we do this now because it will stop it from happening. What also happens though, it also allows us to actually begin to document the skill sets in the country, every position of employment in the country. This database becomes so beautiful because we are now having all the demographics of the Bahamas that we don't get right now. And this database is self-building, all based on biometrics. So when a company has a job, it literally at the time it's submitting for verification, it is also putting the classification of that job ID system into the database. So we could eventually come back to verify that individuals are being paid on parity if we are to ever get to the point where we get the livable wages and these other different things, that you have to be able to document the skill set and the level of compensation based on experience. Something we don't want to do. I want people to remember the Bahamas is the most digitally prepared country in the world. Not me. You can go check the Guardian newspapers and others in December of 2020, where they published this. I've been saying this for decades, and they published that we are the second most digitally prepared. I put to you that we're still the first most digitally prepared based on locations and some other different things. The question is, digital preparedness is not digital utilization. But when you come back to this immigration thing, you're digitizing the marriage records, you're digitizing the work permits, you're digitizing the citizenship, you're digitizing the births, you're digitizing all of these in one database where you could simply ask the question. See Alan Johnson make an application. Has he ever worked in the Bahamas? Where have he worked? Where anything else? The computer checks the biometrics across the whole thing. Name, first it checks the name, it checks the date of birth, it checks the biometrics, everything else, and it spits out everything about me. The protection of this is if an immigration officer or anybody wants to know anything about me, every single person that inquires about me is put in a database, like on the blockchain, cannot be modified. So I could go anytime and get a list of every single person who have looked at me, unless it was for national security purposes. That's where you could seal, not immigration and other different things. And so what it does is it puts governance in the open as opposed behind these closed doors. And so that digital wall is this. It'll get out there very soon that no matter where you go in the Bahamas, you will not be able to get a job because you will not be able to get an ID. Period. Because you just can't show up and get an ID. You have to show justification. Show how you got into the system for the work permit. Show how you got into the
challenge is, it's a good idea, but there's only one challenge. People are still, like the man from the Construction Association get up and admit on air, they willing to hire people who they know have no legal status to be here.
Right, but see, they willing to pay them $300 for a $5,000 fine. That's fine. I guarantee you, there's a whole bunch of Bahamians who will be sitting in the front of every judge. There's going to be some Bahamians whose new job is to be immigration bounty hunters. Their job is going to be to verify that everybody on every job site is legal. Okay? I'm simply saying, the system itself will force a change in behavior.
Yeah.
You can imagine I go to a job site, 50 people, and 35 of them is illegal. I had a good day.
Now, a very good day. Now, there's some people on Facebook that have some very legitimate concerns about the system that you're describing. But we're going to take a commercial break. And then on the other side of the break, we're going to look at those concerns. Very legitimate concerns. Stay with us. This is GPS.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims, paint, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. We are streaming live on Facebook, the official Global 99.5 FM Facebook page, as well as the official Michelle Malcolm page. And the telephone numbers to call are 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, or the WhatsApp line for text messages only, 801-0271, 801-0271. My guest today is C. Alan Johnson. And C. Alan is proposing that we look to technology as the solution to this illegal immigration problem. And what he's describing technically, or should I say on paper, sounds really, really good. But there are some concerns. But now, before we dive into what our Facebook audience is concerned about, we have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS. Hello, caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry, Michelle. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle. Yeah, I'm with you on something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Michelle, I lived in London in the 80s on a work permit. And every 6 months, now London at the time had estimated 6.5 million people. Every 6 months, immigration used to call my HR department to find out if I'm still on the job and if I'm still at college. Every 6 months. When I got transfer, also that was also transferred to immigration to call the job every 6 months. But I still live in the same address. I'm still working and I'm still in college.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that went on for 5 years. Alright?
Mm-hmm.
So you might be on to something, so maybe we need to adopt something like that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you.
So let me read a couple of your comments from Facebook. So Wilbert Toussaint says, sometimes I'm listening and all I do is just laugh because the main problem, y'all ain't even touch it. Well,
State the problem.
that is.
I would like for him to state the problem. The problem is immigrate, E-M-I-G-grate, immigrate, I-M-M-I-G-R-A-T-E, and migrate. And the fact that we have no means of documenting it. And the fact that there is an attraction for the ability to integrate themselves into it, which we're going to come to the housing part. We're going to show you how all of these ties into each other. And so...
But before you do...
But just ask him to state the problem. I challenge him to state the problem.
Well, I'm sure he heard you, so hopefully he'll state what that problem is that we're missing in this conversation. But I wanna read another comment from another Facebook viewer that I think is a legitimate concern. And let me see if I can get it to come up. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not coming up.
I can almost tell it can be something to do with security. What he said, the Big Brother 1984 controlling the
privacy thing. So why is this not coming up? I got knocked off the call. Okay, let me try to get back on. Yeah, it pretty much does have to do with that, Seattle, and their concern is that it can be used for purposes other than what we are describing today. So what is to stop?
Excellent. That's one of the things I'd hope to address.
But okay, we have a caller. Okay, let's go to the phone lines first, and then I can have you address that. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hi, Seattle.
How you doing, Bob?
Yeah, I'm Seattle.
Sorry about that, caller. Go ahead.
Your knowledge, right, and expertise. But the idea that you're bringing in is a wonderful one, and digital and all of that, tracking and everything, keeping abreast as to who's who and what is what. But my thing is just building the hospital, right? The infrastructure and building new hospitals that are supposed to be on stream, you know, in the coming few years. You can do all of these things, but with all systems with the data, you know, your realm of expertise, and I want you to explain this to me when I come on. It's who is sitting behind, who the fingers, who is putting these data in, who is responsible, who is in charge of these different areas. It's the players involved. You understand who are responsible for putting the data in, data out. Who's responsible for when receiving this information? What do they do with it? It's just like the personnel in the hospital. You can have the best, the finest, the state of art, equipment in the heart and PMH as much as you want. If the human personnel is not up to par, is not in the right frame of mind, training and everything else, they don't. So I just want you, if you can, to explain more of that part of it for me, please, and I hang up on that. Thank you.
So let me piggyback the comment onto her questions. Yeah,
right. They wanted to see
piggyback this because they're pretty much one and the same. And so let's see if I can get it to come up now. All right, what is cool? Okay, there it is. So what happens when government use these systems to implement tyrannical measures if a particular group doesn't agree with a policy that is not agreed upon? You can be locked out of society with a click of a button. It's what they did to the truckers who protested in Canada, who go all the financial services cut for not agreeing with the government policy.
That's both of those excellent questions.
Yeah.
For what Pat asks, is very easy. Once you have, you could use, for instance, when a child is born, you could use multiple points of verification. Let's say you start with the foot stamping. Eventually, you'll start with the biometrics. But a second time of entry, when you go for the second point of entry, it will not depend on the first time until it's verified 2 or 3 times. So when you go and ask for the second point of entry, it will check against the first point of entry. And once that marries that this has been authenticated, by the time the third time you verify, it's no longer needed for verification process. You're now talking about data privacy, data protection, and data sovereignty. This is what countries around the world is battling with. This is what you talk about China shutting out people from the internet, tracking people, facial technology. In fact, digital data ID, surveillance, look it up, surveillance economies is $1 trillion business now, surveillance economy, where they track you all around the world. I want people to pay attention to this one set of statements I'm about to make. There is 192 countries with the UN, and I think a little over 200 countries in the world. Only one country in the world today. All countries can give you data privacy if they want to. All countries can give you data sovereignty if they want to. And all countries can give you data protection. There's only one country in the world today that can give you constitutional data privacy, constitutional data sovereignty, and constitutional data protection. And that country is called the Bahamas. In 1973, the way our Constitution was written before the advent of the internet that came 10 years later, before the advent of the World Wide Web that came 20 years later, and even before today, before surveillance economies came into place, the way our Constitution was written, it can be interpreted digitally, and laws that can be written to give you constitutional privacy, constitutional protection, and constitutional sovereignty. What is privacy? The right to keep information private. Protection is ownership. Protection is from exploitation, and sovereignty means that you own it, nobody else does, not even government. The beauty about that is, once that is given to you, the only way for you to remove it is through a constitutional referendum, meaning that government can't use, exploit, or anything else, or you can take legal action against them in any jurisdiction around the world. Not only that, there are systems of protection that can be built into this where no one, the government, like for instance, and that people should be concerned, like right now with sand dollar. They're absolutely correct. With the sand dollar as it has right now, the central bank could cut it off. The central bank could tell us, oh, you got 60 days to spend your money or you lose it. They could do all of those different things. Using the protection of constitutional protection, we can put in there the coding that prevents that from happening. So unless we become an absolute dictatorship, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime in the near future, because technology actually also prevents this from happening. Because guess what is digitized too? Your voting roll. Only people who've passed the smell test across all this digital database will be able to vote. And part of citizenship, for even making an application for citizenship, and again, this is where we have to let me stick with the protection. So what I'm simply saying is, you can create smart contracts. Smart contracts is coding within the software that puts these in there and make sure there's no bespoke software like Sam Bankman-Fried did in his thing where he had back doors. We can have programmers who can check and verify this because the code is going to be public. Your data won't be public, but the code is going to be public for people like me and my children and my wife to look at. They are expert programmers to look for things like their father did, as considered one of the world's best hackers. We will look for codes of exploitation to make sure it's never there. And once that code has been established and locked, there's no modification to exploit it, because a smart contract don't need government to do what it has to do. That's the beauty about it. You can't stop it for invalidating you. You can't stop it for saying you have done something illegal. You can't suppress it. And so I'm simply saying coding is there where this is a public community code for review to be able to see what government is doing, and they can't modify it without a constitutional referendum. So if they want to now change the rules for credit cards or for utilizing its money, they can't do it. And this is what we should demand of sand dollar. And so what I'm simply saying is, this isn't just giving some amateurs coding. We are actually going to begin to teach and develop Bahamians who will become guardians of this code. Now, let me explain to you why this code is very important. This would bring billions of dollars per year by adopting a digital data protection, data privacy, and data sovereignty. Constitutional data privacy, constitutional data protection, constitutional data sovereignty could put billions of dollars in the treasury in the world for just issuing digital IDs, which is separate from the Bahamian ID. You know how you go to Estonia and get a digital citizenship? Anybody becoming a digital citizen of the Bahamas will have all rights and protection to have their data protected, to have their data privacy and data sovereignty, whether Facebook own it, Google own it, Amazon own it, no matter who owns it. That means if you listen to ASCAP, for those in the music business, and BMI, you all been on Facebook and you've been on YouTube where you get these strikes for using other people's music, and they give the monetization to these people, meaning that Facebook, Amazon, Google can no longer use your information without paying you for being part of their database. So all of the tracking they do for you, on you, they'd have to start paying you for tracking you. So imagine that you have 4 or 5 billion people in the world. There's 2 billion people that wants to have control of their data and owns it. They only need to pay $1 a month to become a citizen of the Bahamas, to be subject to the rules that protect their information. Now, I want you to listen, but they only have to pay for this one time. Now that we are now tracking and monitoring your information if you choose to be, when we collect your commission from them using your data, we'll take out our $15 a year and send you the difference of what you have generated into your digital account. So if you have 2 billion people that wants their protection, and GDPR in the UK does this already for their citizens, no matter where in the world, whoever collect information on their citizens is subject to the rules of the United Kingdom. So anybody who have data on any of our citizens, digital or otherwise, is subject to the rules and laws of the Bahamas. It will blow up the Bahamian economy because you will have Google, Amazon, Dell, all these people collect data will come to the Bahamas to put servers in the Bahamas, because we will also demand that data be kept on any citizens we have in our jurisdiction. But imagine 2 billion people paying $10 a year for their citizenship to have protection. You would have then made $20 billion a year just for issuing a digital ID on somebody. This is the creation of a data economy that goes beyond using it to bring alignment to our country. The biggest problem we have is the Luddites who governs us. What is a Luddite? During the first industrial revolution, when they start automating machinery, there were some people, farmers and other people, who went with their pitchforks and their cutlasses and stuff to attack the machines, because they said they were going to take over the world and they're going to eliminate the jobs and all those different things. They wanted to destroy technology. It was burning down buildings and everything. That's Luddites, anti-technology people. They govern us, whether directly or indirectly. So we have to overcome them. I know for sure, if you go on this number of Bahamians born since 1981, we, and I'm including myself in that, even though I was born before 1981, we outnumber them. 70% of the population is post 1981. We outnumber them. The problem is we have become the silent majority, and we must begin to be heard and demand these things. And so Lyndon Pinland describes today better than anyone else. He says, if you're not prepared to fight for your country, you don't deserve it. Unless you got someplace else to go, this is your country. And so we're not against immigrants, IMMIGRANT, immigrants, EMIGRATE, and migrants. Now listen to the difference. A migrant is like the birds. They come into town and they fly out. The immigrant, the EMIGRATE, is like how we say the Canadians and second homeowners, they come here for a certain amount of time. No, they don't. No. Let me correct that. The migrants, right, come in and they go out, like the birds do, and the bees and all these things. The immigrant, EMIGRATE, are those that move into the country but have no desire to be assimilated here. They're the people who could come here and live here forever. They sustain themselves. They don't need no jobs. They don't need anything else, right? Now we have to be careful. This word right here is what we keep using. We call them all immigrants, IMMIGRATE. They're the ones who leave their country to take permanent residency. The minute you say a person is an immigrant, IMMIGRATE, that's someone who's seeking permanence in another country. Don't mind them saying they just transitioned to America. If they were transitioning to America, there'll be migrants, right? We don't identify them as migrants in the Bahamas, or there'll be immigrant for those who say we just here, we can sustain ourselves and we can work. Now, let me tell you the beauty about this digital wall. Once you establish an ID system, and which brings us to housing, because you can't come into the Bahamas. The number one problem we have in the Bahamas that the Minister of Housing have not solved, not the Prime Minister, is we have a housing crisis. Let's use the numbers. According to international studies, the Bahamas is missing about 75,000 housing units. And just to stay even, we must build 3,000 housing units every year. This isn't necessary houses. 3,000 housing units is apartments, this, whatever. Remember, if our population is growing every year by 6,000 people, even if you pair them up getting married, that's 2,500 people per year that needs their own housing once they mature into adulthood. Plus you add children to it. So literally speaking, we have to start producing 3,000 housing units. The people are in the bush because we don't have the housing unit. So the number one crisis in our country right now is housing. Because as part of the immigration ID system, you must state the house where you will be living. And you must show that you have some salary, you're being paid sufficient salary if your work permit, person who gets the work permit for you is not paying for that, that you have sufficient money to pay your living expenses. You can't get a work permit below we establish a poverty level. And it got to be more than the 6,000 we use. In the United States, the poverty level right now is about $20,000 for the first person in the house. So clearly, if you look at our taxes on the same things we buy from them, we got to be around the same $20,000 a year. If the livable wage is going to be $30,000 a year, then the poverty wage has to be around $20,000. So that means we're doing favors to individuals who come into work in the Bahamas, be they Haitian, Jamaican, Barbadian, whatever, because we would establish a minimum wage for them to be paid. Because if they have to pay their lights, if they have to pay their food, if they have to pay their own housing, that means that you have to have 1/3 of your money that you're being paid automatically go to housing. So your light, your phone, and these other living expenses. So we would then now correct the defect we have in the pay schedule in the Bahamas. One of the biggest things, and I have a twin brother on Facebook. His name is Biazan Johnson, or Rabbi Common Sense is his nickname. He makes a point, and he's been offering reward for these individuals who claim that they need, and he used the word very specifically, Haitians as gardeners. He says he's willing to pay $450 a week if somebody can provide him with a Haitian who could provide the credentials to show they had experience working in gardening on a farm. He says the same thing for painters, the same thing. So where did these so-called people who came from this impoverished type environment got this so-called experience from? That you say you need to bring them in to do painting, construction. Where did they get this from? Are you seeing the construction work they have? Where's their credentials? So in the same capacity, when individuals begin to make an application for a work permit, they must list verifiable proof of the skills they say they possess to come. They're going to come work in the Bahamas. So
well, not only that, Seattle, because we have to take a break, but not only that. Here's my question. You claim, and I say you, I'm talking, for instance, about the gentleman from the Construction Association. He is claiming that construction will collapse if all of a sudden this is enforced. Jason, please bring up the two shot while I'm out of the system.
You can pause that right there. Let me ask you something. Did Baker's Bake collapse when they brought in?
No, but hold on. Let me ask this question, though. Let me ask this question. That's not the one I meant. No, the other way. The other way. Yeah. Okay, so here's my question. You claim that you need to hire these people because you can't find any Bahamian labor who has the same skill set. Okay, let's say I buy that, which I don't, but let's say I buy that. But according to a Haitian official, a diplomatic official in this country, there are already within this country 150,000 people from that country.
Right.
So you're trying to tell me that even if you write and no Bahamians here have the capability of doing these jobs, you can't find who you need within the 150 who are already here?
Right. But see, again, this is why it's manure. This is what he said. I listened to him on the radio. He said they hire an illegal, and the illegal is watching the mason work. And then during the break, he goes and start practicing doing what the mason does.
Like
then
the Bahamian can't do that.
No, but I want to say, then he says the Haitian then goes, and this he used the word Haitian very specifically, then goes and buy their own travel and bucket. And 6 months later, he says, I am a mason and you have to pay me a mason salary. Now, you're saying that when you look at what masons and carpenters and even certified farmers get paid, and this is the point my twin Biazan Johnson is making. Let's begin to verify the skill set of these individuals to make sure it matches the work permit. And here's the problem. It's very hard to designate to a Bahamian that you should go and become a carpenter, a mechanic, or a mason, or a roofer, when the person on the job site arbitrarily gives them a salary knowing it's going to drive them away. When you establish in the United States and other developed countries and developing countries, every job has a definition. My programming definition carries the code 808744. There's a minimum salary for that. And when You know, they say a computer programmer, computers only speak English. In the
Mhm.
Bahamas, I've seen jobs for computer programmers, you have to speak Spanish and German and Italian.
Mhm.
What it says is this: since computers only speak English, this is the base salary for that. If you want me to speak German, this is how much more you have to pay. And chances are the increment that you would pay for a translator, you could buy a translator that stands alone. So you could pay me the job because I can program and get me a translator to stand next to me. Nowadays, we have artificial intelligence and everything else. Guess what? Translation is on the fly in almost any language as we speak. So what I'm simply saying is we have to right size these definitions of every job at every employee. We have to stop letting these foreign investors come in here and give us a list of jobs they will hire. When a foreign investor says we will be employing 300 people, let him publish the list of every position that he claimed that he will be employing. Because they love to say we can employ 300 and 1,000, whatever, but no one gets to see the list. But guess what? Knowing the way we have to build this country, we could make a determination of the skills that we will need to have these development happen. There are people like, for instance, let's use the Abaco thing of the $170 million. Bahamians don't listen to the fine print like I do. That's $170 million over 10 years. That's $17 million a year. 300 people. You're telling me by the time they reach phase 2 or the second year that we couldn't have Bahamians trained to replace all of those? Didn't our immigration policy said, remember he says people are learning on the job, the construction job, in 6 months, a year, they say they're ready. Then I thought it was already a policy, let's make it a law, that we have Bahamians that understudy for these positions to take it. If you see, in the United States, Canada, and all these other places where people immigrate to, and other places, mechanics and plumbers and carpenters and masons make more than doctors and lawyers. In the Bahamas, we have them as minimum wage job. Let's put them in their rightful perspective. You're trying to tell me that it costs you less to bring 150 people like they did from Mexico, put them up in housing in Abaco, feed them, treat them, and pay them a salary, and it was to find Bahamians to do the same thing? Well, if there is no skill set, if you could become a doctor and other lawyers in 4 years, whatever, how long it takes for you to learn this particular skill set, and understand, when you begin to define the construction industry and the farm industry and the painting industry and these various industries with every type of skill that is necessary, you'll find out that most of the skills that these people are saying these people have to have is a facade, a lie. Because you can no longer come to immigration and say, I need a painter. Okay, good. Do you need a rough painter, a finished painter, or whatever you want to call it? Do you need a carpenter for roughing, whatever? And each one of them will have their salary, and each one of them will have their skill set definition. And so we can eliminate this and right size in the economy, which brings us back to the livable wage type of thing. The problem is there are some people making billions of dollars in profits from underpaying these individuals. And here's the problem. They don't have to report those profits. You know why? They don't have to report those profits because we don't have income tax.
Let me tell you something, Seattle. And I ain't gonna call no name because I don't want to get sued, right? But I know of a particular business entity. They had this big publicized job fair, right? All kind of people showed up for a position in that job fair. Bahamians are talking.
Yeah, I know. They said they didn't get enough.
Right? I mean, it was such an impressive showing. The news coverage was good. All these people are looking for workers. You got all these people show up applying for these jobs, etc. And then once that PR exercise is over, if they hire 4 Bahamians, they hire plenty. The rest of the people are imported.
No, but this is what they do.
This is what they do. So you can't tell me, and we got to go to a break. One of the reasons why this problem continues to be the problem that it is because of two things and two things only: greed and corruption.
Absolutely.
And now we're talking about introducing a system that's going to make it hard for both of those to exist in that reality. that is the reason why I am not surprised at all that ain't nobody rushing to get this done. As intelligent as you are, C. Allen, I'm sure other people have thought of this before.
Oh, they have. I have had people that had rigorous discussion with me on the same things, can privacy, and for how long it would take. Let me tell people, we're talking about less than a 1-year exercise for us to be totally digitized in immigration, because we'll continue to see. Because understand, remember now, when you say we're going to digitize immigration with every job opening, every classification, every people coming in, and we'll be able to control how long they're in the country and whatever else.
They don't want that. They don't want that. They don't.
Right, but Bahamians see, because what happens is this: if Bahamians demand this now, either this government will do it, or the next administration will have to, because they will have to agree to do it on day one. Now, here's the beauty about this: we don't need. Right now, the leader of our opposition right now is Mr. Michael Pintard, anticipating becoming the next governor of the Bahamas. We don't have to wait for him to introduce this as law right now. He could introduce this as law right now and have the government of today reject it. Here's what people don't understand. A bill, when rejected in the House of Assembly, doesn't go anywhere. It sits there in committee or whatever else. So on day one of him getting into government, he only needs to call that bill back up and pass it. We need to stop letting them believe that they need to sit and wait and do nothing. That's because we're in ignorance of not knowing that we could demand. The Free National Movement could introduce bills into Parliament right now, and individuals like Lincoln Bain has been trying to do can introduce a bill into Parliament as long as you have somebody willing to introduce it on his behalf. And so we have to begin to understand these are not misnomers. These are actual processes that's part of our constitutional right. So we can actually begin to craft these bills for digital ID systems and begin to make a demand that either the government introduce it, opposition introduce it, or we will get someone that represents our interest and sell them to Parliament to introduce it for us. So we'll have this within 3 years anyway. So let's become informed. Do not suffer from the arrogance of ignorance or the fear of what technology do. Ask questions. I just want people to understand. The Bahamas is very unique when it comes to technology use. And the founders of our nation, who we designate as founders of our nation, may not even have realized it, but they give us a future-focused constitution that allows us to have these protections, these fares we have built in, where people around the world will flock just for digital citizenship. Now, let me just make a point. I don't know if you want to do this after the break. But
yeah, we got to take a break. We 13 minutes past the break time.
Let's take a break and I can explain that part when I come back.
Please. Okay, let's do this. Let's take this break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation with C. Allen Johnson about how this whole immigration problem could be solved just like that. All you got to do is implement technology. Why is it not happening? We're going to talk about all that. Stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims, paint, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
We are streaming live on Facebook at the Global 99.5 FM official Facebook page, as well as the Michelle Malcolm official page. The telephone number is to call 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272. And if you'd like to send us a message, you can do so on WhatsApp at 801-0271, 801-0271. This is GPS. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guest today is C. Alan Johnson, and we are talking about the fact that, as C. Alan puts it, this immigration challenge could be solved quite easily with a digital wall, a system incorporating things that make it very, very difficult for corruption to exist, that will spread beyond the problem of illegal immigration and force us to regularize other systems as well. You should know by now that you're the only person in the world with your fingerprints. And every time you go into the United States and you have to pass through officials to get into their country, you have to put your hand on a fingerprint scanner. You have to look into this thing that looks at the retina of your eye. So it's not like this is a foreign concept. It's already being done. And those of us who traveled to the United States at any time in the past, in the last few years, have already faced this technology. So it's not like this is some far-fetched Twilight Zone, out of this world concept. But in order to make it happen, now you're talking about messing with people's pocket. Because now it makes it impossible for them to thief, framing terminology, and if there's any visitor listening, translation for thieving in the Bahamas is stealing. In this case, by reason of employment.
Or graft.
Exactly. So now I can't thief. I can't get paid under the table. I can't turn a blind eye to, I see one picture in the passport, but don't look nothing like the person standing in front of me. It eliminates so many different levels of corruption and greed.
And exploitation of workers, exploitation of children, all of those different things.
Yeah. So let's look at a couple of your comments, and then I'll let C. Alan dive back into the thought process that he started to develop before we took the break. So Terry says, C. Alan, those ideas are irrefutable. Any objecting is part of the problem and must find a loophole or better method, which I think is hard to do. Marissa says, this happens every day, Michelle. She's talking about the fact that people advertise these great PR exercises. Oh, we hiring so many people, and then they actually hire 3 or 4, and then the rest are foreigners. She says this happens every day, Michelle, when a job is advertised because it's required by law, but the foreign candidate has already been selected to hire. But here's the thing, I'm not even talking some big skill job. I'm talking about simple things like laying tile. What babies can easily do.
Absolutely. But guess what? Technology now allows them to lay tiles. You see, as we become more technologically literate, you can use lasers and tile laying things that you could almost be impossible to make a mistake. So we are teaching these new skill set to the new Bahamian. I just want you to imagine that every job in the Bahamas is listed, and then it has B or F at the end of the job. You know what it says, right? This is every single job that is listed in the Bahamas, and the B main is already filled by a Bahamian, and the F main by a foreigner. So you could almost go and say, "Oh, good, I can learn this skill where the F is and go get that job." Plain and simple, because it lists every position that's available and also forces, we say, national insurance to suffering an epidemic. Well, the man just told you there's almost 50,000 people that's not paying into national insurance just by his statement. Isn't 50,000 people paying into national health insurance, their full load is the same as adding 1% to all the ones who is currently paying? We just need to get people into it. So it begins to close, technology begins to close a whole lot of loopholes. And then we begin to face the housing problem. Because the reason why people can't face housing is they're not being paid enough, because we are actually using the labor department to depress the economy and conflate what we're supposed to be doing. If you're now paying more, $650 a week or whatever it is, you now can afford a house or home or purchase a mortgage or whatever else. So what happens is the damage we are doing to the economy is by ignoring technology and its possibilities is worse. Now, I want you to understand that now that you begin to regulate the system, and anybody coming into the Bahamas can literally be issued the ID on the spot. In the United States, if you used to get a work permit in the United States and you go for a driver's license, your driver's license is only valid for as long as your work permit. But here's what Bahamians may not know. If you go to Florida tomorrow and you're there for 6 weeks, you can go to the driver's license bureau and get a Florida driver's license that'll expire the day the stamp in your passport expires. You got out for 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever. So anybody entering into the Bahamas can enter into our data pool of it. But here's the beauty. As you begin to regulate, people can't go get other jobs. Now, let me tell you, those individuals from the South, when word get out, there's no bush. You can't live in the bush. You can't live anywhere. That they will find you, and that if you get a job, you can't get no more fake work permits, or say you're doing something else, they will stop coming, because there'll be no place for them to hide. Because if you also have penalties, if you're on a work permit and you facilitate a crime, a moral crime, and this is what we have to do for citizenship, moral turpitude. Anything that insults our moral turpitude bars you from a work permit or ever becoming a citizen. Anything you partake of as a work permit holder, as a resident, that is reserved for citizenship, cancel your residency, cancel your work permit, and bars you from ever entering the Bahamas again. That means if you go vote. So the only difference between a resident and a citizen is the right to vote. Because according to the Constitution, you have all rights and privileges except for the right to vote. So why is it so hard to give people permanent residency that we keep running to give them citizenship? Because they want to vote as part of a corrupt system. So for those individuals in the Bahamas, unless you plan on changing our system, we can have a process of integrating you into the Bahamas, but you just will not have the right to vote. And you have every right and privilege they have in the Constitution, except one, the right to vote. Okay, 2, and the right to pass citizenship on unless it meets the requirement. Then why is it you're insisting on becoming a citizen in my country, except you're trying to change some dynamics? This is how we protect the sovereignty of the Bahamas. And once these protections in place, here's what happens, Michelle. You could enter into, like in Singapore and all the places. In Singapore, 6 million people, only 2 million are citizens. Qatar, 8 million people, less than 2 million people are citizens. They don't have a fear because you can't break their Chinese wall for less than a word on the protection of their citizenship and the way their systems work. So we could now have the same way you could say, just enter the Bahamas on a visa. Come and stay as long as you want. You'll not be able to get a job, but you'll be able to rent a house, rent a car, do all the things and enjoy yourself as the visitor does. Because you will not be able to stay in the bush. You'll not be able to stay anywhere. You'll have to stay in a regulated type environment. So we could create an economy of scale for consumption for individuals who could afford to stay in the Bahamas, because they will have to rent from Bahamians who will be able to build homes and apartments and other different things, because we will also begin to digitize the land, and we will move to protect that 80% or more of all land in the Bahamas is to be preserved in perpetuity for Bahamians. Singapore got 85% and Norway. So essentially, we'll begin to reacquire the land if we don't have it. They say we have 3 million acres of crown land. 2 million of those acres of crown land now sits in the BNT. You'll move those to a sovereign fund to make sure that they can't give it away like they did to the Aga Khan and everybody else. And so we can, all of this is digitization. You'll have law reform, citizenship reform, land reform. Everything will automatically fall in place with a digitized economy. Don't mind these politicians. We have spent over $1 billion, maybe $2 billion in the last 30 years, and we can't get paper documents.
But
that tells you it's the corruption. The corruption is when they've been saying they've been digitized in the Bahamas, they've been given multi-million-dollar contracts every single year for technology, and we have no technology. So that again is corruption.
But here's a challenge, though, Ciaran. Here's a loophole to this whole concept that you are proposing. I agree with you 1,000% that this is the direction we perhaps need to consider going in. But here's something that we need to also consider. When these people come here illegally, they already come here knowing where to go. They didn't just land and then searching for where to go. They know where to go because they don't find out before they come here. And they have their own underground ecosystem.
Good.
It's not that they are participating in our system anyway. They got their own underground system operating.
Michelle,
so you go on the typical Shaggy Sound, like some of the bigger ones.
They fall away. What I'm saying to you is technology falls away because no one can live in a shanty town. We will be able to digitize every plot of land. I can go right now in Grand Bahama and show you a digital map that shows you every house on Grand Bahama, every lot is numbered, every plot is numbered, and whatever's there. We can do the same thing. In fact, under the previous administration, right before Dorian, I have every single WhatsApp message from the time I got WhatsApp 5, 6, 7 years ago. Every single message. I can show you where I proposed to the former administration to have a satellite pass over the Bahamas every single day and take a picture of every single island and submit to them. So you could almost see, literally speaking, if a boat is 1 day away from the Bahamas, you could tell. This is not some fancy technology. This ain't no millions of dollars. This is very inexpensive. And we could get this right now. We could see when every house is being built, anything added to it. This is what digitization does. The problem then is that once you digitize and we eliminate the shanty towns, remember, a moral turpitude and violating the law are two different things, right? Mm-hmm. Moral turpitude is the highest standard. If you engage in prostitution, have an affair with somebody else, wife or husband, all those is moral turpitude, could undermine your ability. So you're going to live a rightful life if you come into the Bahamas. So I hate to say that moral turpitude and all of the sweetheart and stuff will be reserved exclusively for Bahamians. But what happens is,
I don't think your new wife will appreciate that joke very much. But anyway, we digress.
But here's what happens. Anytime somebody comes into the Bahamas, if a citizen assists with an underground, they will pay the penalty. My question is, how do they get employment if the whole Bahamas is watching? Where do they live? Because if you are a permanent resident or a work permit holder and you assist in violating the law, you're subject to immediate revocation of your work permit or your living thing and deportation within 48 hours. So whenever you decide to house somebody legally, know that you must have a method to leave the country within 48 hours. And we will bar you from coming back for 10 years. Here's what we say. We'll say, if you pay your own deportation way out, and it's not something bad, you could make application in 10 years. If we deport you, if we have to remove you, then the bar is going to be for 20 years, 30 years, or life. When you are removed from the Bahamas, every time you are legally removed from the Bahamas, you are given a prison sentence. The only reason to return to the Bahamas is to do your prison sentence. So what we'll do is, when you re-enter illegally again, we will carry you to do your prison sentence, and at the end of your prison sentence, we'll sentence you again for being here illegally, and the next time we'll say, well, you'll do 5 years. And like somebody put, we have some work prisons where nobody sleeps all day. You'll be doing something. You know, like how they have prison industries in the U.S.? We'll create some prison industries. They'll be making school uniforms, or we'll find something for you to do while you're in prison. So you're not being sent to accommodation. You're going to be sent to do some labor, because either way, the prison itself could be self-sustaining, because if you believe your family in the South or wherever you're from could afford to send you a commissary, we'll sell you a Kit Kat for $5. You know, whatever this, however you want to live, but we'll solve your problem. None of these problems are overcomable, because word will get around that there's nowhere for us to live in the Bahamas if we land there. Imagine that a boat lands with 100 people, 200 people. No one will dare risk housing them, because if you're a green card holder, work permit holder, or whatever you want to call it, you will be deported. If you're a Bahamian citizen, you will be fined. And when we find you inside of a house, we will attach a lien against that house if we owe you, if you own it. If not, we'll also let the landlord know that you've been hosting somebody, and then the landlord, being concerned for his property, will have a right to evict you for violation of the law of housing somebody there. See, so what it does is, you have nothing to worry about with these so-called laws you put in place. If you're renting from Seattle and Johnson, he has the right to evict you for housing somebody illegal in your house. Why are you worried about that being a law unless you plan on housing somebody legally? You have nothing to worry about. But the beauty is, this is not about, again, privacy is concerned. None of these laws will act in isolation. These are all symbiotic, in sync with each other. And these are public codes. Again, the data is protected. The data is protected, but the code is viewable by anyone else. Everybody who can see it can look for defects and whatever else in the code, and even recommend enhancing it. We will actually be creating a data economy. I mean, just by going digital alone, we have a $3 billion budget. I just told you 1 billion people, and I guarantee you within 1 year of passing a digital law for constitutional privacy, constitutional data protection, constitutional data sovereignty, we'll have over 1 billion people in the US alone who will apply for the right to own their data, to exploit it for themselves. Do you know that if you have the BRCA gene in the Bahamas and you become part of this data community, and a cure is found using any part of the genetic genome that you have, you could instantly become a billionaire, or your family would if you died from cancer, because the data that they use as part of the research then became part of the solution for which you are eligible to be compensated for. Every tree, every plant, everything in the Bahamas becomes digitally protected. You know how people around the world say they come to the Bahamas and exploit these plants and things they found? What Bahamians don't know is we could retroactively go and make claim back for these so-called patents that they have, for indigenous rights to these plants. So we can now put them as part of our database. If makeup or anything around the world where plants and things that are indigenous to the Bahamas is used, we have a right to be compensated for it. Do you know that the fish and other different things that be born in the Bahamas that populate the world for having the third largest barrier reef, we could actually begin to put DNA trackers on those and begin to take ownership of particular types of fish, even though it's snapper. But this snapper has a DNA trait, because we say that one is a Bahamian. And anytime you have a Bahamian trait show up anywhere in the world, when you cook that snapper, we want a little something, something. But what happens is,
That sounds really good.
We are the threshold. But I say to people, go and look CHAT GPT, right? Chat into the artificial intelligence. They're being incorporated into. We have just moved into the knowledge economy, where artificial intelligence, machine learning, quantum computing, and fusion is the way of life. We're still dealing with stuff from 1999, from the 20th century. We're 22 years into the 20th century.
But that's by design, see, Alan?
Right, but I'm saying to you, there's enough of us right now. If you have children and you have grandchildren, and you've sacrificed for the political parties and see no future, it says to be so biblical. It says, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, not your children, for your grandchildren. If you have not left a part of the Bahamas for your grandchildren, now is the opportunity by becoming digitized, because you can leave your DNA now. You can leave a part of the Bahamas you help preserve for them for eternity. And technology is the first step to us achieving sovereignty in the world right now. We will be declaring that the Bahamas is sovereign in a digital world, whether it's the metaverse, the multiverse, or the real world, that the Bahamas is who we say we are as a Bahamian. From our children, to our plants, to our animals, to everything that exists within the Bahamas, and others around the world is welcome to join us for a small $10 fee. And you could become a digital citizen of the Bahamas. You don't have a right to vote, and you have certain privileges we could put to it. And we will also protect your data from the rest of the world exploiting it. Billions, trillions of dollars a year is made from data. Imagine that 50% of the people right now on social media, put it at 4 million if you want to, 2 million of those people registering in the Bahamas. That means 50% of those trillions of dollars a year made around the world will be taxed in the Bahamas.
We gotta take a break. We gotta take a break. Because this sounds really, really, really good. But we live in the Bahamas. And in this country, we thrive on inefficiency, because the inefficiency allows us to continue to sell out our birth rate for a bowl of porridge. So while you telling me that all of this can fix all our problems, I sitting in a seat in some government office, and I work in my mind overtime right now trying to figure out how to block this from happening. Because I in the process of building my house, and you trying to come up with a system that can make it hard for me to get my house to better cost. So I got to figure out, and as I listen to you, I sitting right here right now trying to figure out how I can frustrate this process, because now you messing with my pocket. See, that's the reality what we got to face when it comes to this kind of discussion. But we're going to take a break. And then I want you to answer that. We can take a break. And on the other side of this break, we're going to continue to look at innovative and smart ideas about how we could fix not just the immigration problem, but other lingering problems in this country simply by engaging, embracing technology. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. This is GPS. Stay with us.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your longevity associate.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
One of the things I love about the mailboat is their relationship with Bahamas Air. I can earn travel points on my international freight and redeem them when I fly.
For me, online shopping is easy, with mailboat to U.S. addresses and regular freight delivery to Nassau. Plus, I can always prepay customs and freight, and they always notify me when my package arrives.
Yeah, a lot of people think the mailboat is just for shipping, but they also offer a safe and secure storage facility at affordable rates, all in a central, convenient location.
We also offer passenger service into Freeport multiple times per week with a seating capacity of over 450 persons. With family movies on large screens, one hot meal included, and on-board lounge for snacks and soft drinks. We're the mailboat. We're bridging people, products, and places.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Partnership on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here in your company, along with my guest, C. Alan Johnson, who is here talking about a digital solution to our illegal immigration problem, and by extension, other problems as well. Let me read a couple of the comments from Facebook. So Terry Bullitt says, enough respect, C. Allen. All I was hearing is absolutely the holistic solution to this migrant influx. And Marissa says, C. Allen has not discussed anything today that has not been thought of before now, guaranteed. We cannot solve this problem at the level of the problem.
I'm going to answer that later.
Go ahead.
For 20 years, everything I said today, the only thing that's advanced is technology. That's one of the things I came home for. I don't just know what to do, I know how to do it. I've been in technology for 46 years. I was there when TCP was designed that you all now call the internet, 1983. I was there when www was designed, you all call the World Wide Web. 1989, Tim Berners-Lee came up with the concept. 1992, it became accepted as a standard. I was with Facebook when it was called The Facebook, when there's only 4 people in the Bahamas that had it. C. Alan Johnson, Biazan Johnson, Aaron Ferguson, and his brother. 4 people in the Bahamas had The Facebook, discuss it with Jeffrey Lloyd and education. There's very few technology that I've not been involved with. I'm an expert in artificial intelligence, machine learning, quantum computing, and the likes. My wife is the same thing. She masters all of these various different disciplines. I've been in technology for 46 plus years. I was with the technology before there was keyboards, as you know, when we used to use punch cards. I've seen everything develop. I've seen there's very few technology and advanced technology in the background. Most people talk about the iceberg. You know, the part you see, I'm the one that helped deal with the iceberg underneath the water, the part that allows you to see the one to the top. I've been involved in technology 10 years before. I'm the one that introduced WhatsApp to the Bahamas. I asked anybody working for Give Bahamas and otherwise. And even when WhatsApp didn't have the ability to voice call, all I had to do was call you. And the minute I call you, you automatically, this was before Facebook bought WhatsApp. When I call you, you automatically enable your WhatsApp. I do advanced computing. I'm well known in the back office of technology. Now, here's the problem we have. I think Ms. Ramming is correct. The problem is not that these technologies not available. You have not because you demand not. My father once gave me a story about an old man that sat on the porch with a dog, and the dog was screaming. He asked the old man, "Why is the dog screaming?" He says, "Because he's sitting on the nail." My old man asked the old man, "Why did you move the dog?" He says, "When the dog gets tired of the pain, he gets up off the nail himself."
Mm-hmm.
We must demand these things. You have not because you demand not. You ask not. That's what the Bible says. And so you could sit and cry about what you think is the problem all the time. The question we must take to government right now, today, is why aren't we solving the problems as opposed to eloquently saying what your policies are and question? There's two people I want you to find for me. I want you to find Wade Watson, the Minister of Technology, who sits in Baines and Grantstown, who could solve many of the problems that face them today. And I want you to find Mr. Leon Williams, who acts as ambassador to the telecommunications people. These are the government key advisors for technology, and ask them to disavow you of anything I've told you, that it cannot be done, that it's too expensive or too complicated, and have them do it in public. I'm saying to you, these are things we could do in 6 months to 1 year, right now, today. And we could have done these for a decade right now. And so, yes, I can put these in the public domain, but unless we as behemoths come back as a collective and demand it, find Lincoln Bain, who's an advocate for immigration right now, and said, hey, can these be adopted? Let's find Adrian Francis and all those individuals who are now experts on immigration and simply say to them, a solution has been proffered. Can we adopt this, or can you offer something better than what has been offered? And ask the Prime Minister, who is ultimately responsible for immigration. Don't mind Keith Bell, don't mind Fred Mitchell, Foreign Affairs. The Prime Minister is the first among equals that delegates to them the title that they hold. And so if we demand of the Prime Minister these solutions, we can have them. Wade Watson, Baines and Grantstown, and Leon Williams, the technology guru he's the government's go-to person. And a host of other people in the Prime Minister office that's being paid millions of dollars a year in consultancy fees. Check the budget. It's in the budget. Millions of dollars in consultancy fees are being paid, yet we have no solution when technology can solve some of our simplest solutions. You have not because you demand not. Let me touch on the person who said the person sitting in their job. By digitizing this community, including tokenization of the community, we could build the 80,000 homes in this country with no money down. We're going to do a show on this, more so when we come talk about Grand Bahama maybe next week if I'm invited back. Tokenization of this economy will give Bahamians access to capital. In fact, you could go to the bank and pay off their loans and tell them choke on their money. Because tokenization and digitization allows you, and it's called decentralized finance and everything, it allows you access to global capital that the banks, the central bank, or anyone cannot stop you from having access to. And we could build 50,000 homes, as much as legitimized construction workers we could get into the Bahamas for 100% financing with zero monthly payments back. I challenge the Minister of Finance, Halkitis M, to say I am wrong on this. Decentralized finance. The Bahamas is located in one of the most well-known hospitality and tourism industry in the world. It's called the intangible. It's called the knowledge economy. Convert that knowledge economy to currency. Every single Bahamian in the Bahamas has $1 million in their head. And if they don't know where to find it, individuals like me can point it out to you. And so we don't need to sell a single resource for you to become a millionaire in 10 years or less in the Bahamas. We create generational wealth because long after you die, don't mind them sending you off to school for your degree. When you die, your degree done. They give you all these pretty titles. When they go, they die. Leave real estate, leave wealth for your family because your degree and all your certifications die with you. That's why they try to encourage you not to build wealth, to go get a job. Just over broke suckers in a just over broke system. I'm simply saying to you, we will no longer fall for this. Let them know that you're now the new behemoth, especially all of y'all generation millennials born from 1981 to 1995 and Generation Z that born from 1996 to 2010 and Generation X, which is our great-grandchildren, etc. We must take ownership of this economy. According to the to WTO, World Trade Organization, $3 billion worth of trade is done in the Bahamas every single year that we get nothing from. This is not me. This is the World Trade Organization. Our GDP is $16 billion a year. According to them, every single behemoth in the Bahamas makes $1,500 a week. That's what they say. You don't make your $1,500, somebody has your share of the money, okay? What I'm simply saying is we need to bring parity, not equality. We need to bring equity to this economy. And now is the best time in history because technology levels the playing ground and gives the Bahamas an advantage no other country in the world has. And we must begin to exploit this to create wealth for behemoths at the same time, protecting the sovereignty. Remember, this wealth belongs to behemoths. And every time you let a pseudo-behemoth or somebody take possession of a behemoth citizenship, they are laying claim to the portion of the wealth that belongs to your family. We must stop it today, and then we must go back like Melchizedek. You know the Melchizedek in the Bible, for you all don't know? I am of a, they said nationalist, but I'm an extreme nationalist. I'm of the order of Melchizedek. Melchizedek not only went what was taken from him, right? The Melchizedek principle, he went and got the increase. So if you took $1 million from me and you made $2 million from it, I come in for the whole $3 million, not just the $1 million you take. That's what I'm talking about. And the international law gives us the right to reclaim everything that has ever been taken from us. You know how these African nations and the other nations are demanding their jewels be returned to them? Let's demand our intellectual property and exploitation of it to happen. Let's fix it where cruise ships will have no place to take behemoths except to our locations, these so-called inclusive enclave. We got 7 million tourists, right? Let me tell you how stupid we are. And I want to say it's stupid. We got 5 million people come on a cruise ship, and less than 1 million, not even 1 million, get off the cruise ship. But we brag that we have 5 million visitors from the cruise ship, 2 million from people that is as dumb as a guy that having a boot on Jamaica Road counting every car that pass him as customers. Okay? Stupidity. Behemoths, let's stop being stupid. We'll count people who get off and spend time with us. Let's flip this economy so we can have 2 million cruise ships and 5 million visitors. Let me tell you one other point, and I challenge Ministry of Tourism and Foreign Affairs to deny this. The only reason cruise ships come to the Bahamas, and this is why they create these conclave, is there's a law in the U.S. says when you leave the U.S., you must stop to at least one destination before you can return to the U.S. or pay 50% of your money, of your revenue. So what they do is they stop in the Bahamas so they don't have to pay that revenue to the U.S. The Bahamas and another country right below Puerto Rico is the two countries every cruise ship stops to before they return to the U.S. so they don't have to give 50% of their revenue or profits, whatever, from going to the U.S. They're not doing us a favor. We're doing them a favor, and they're dumping, pissing, and doing whatever on us as they pass through our waters. There ain't no transit fees or anything. I'm simply saying this technology will allow us to track them and begin to get what is rightfully ours. Me asking no favors. Give me what's mine. And I'm simply saying is technology allows us to take possession of our economy. The world said we are the most digitally prepared economy in the world. Why aren't we using it? Because we have Luddites. We have individuals. The Bible warns us about this. The Bible says, be very careful when you make a slave a king, because he only knows slavery. You want me to tell you what our leaders remind us of? With all due respect, we need a new generation of leaders. Our leaders remind me of the dog that's been chained in the yard. So they put a fence around the yard, loose the dog. He run all around the yard now thinking he's free because he got chained loose. That's what our leaders are. They don't know they're still in the yard. We have an opportunity to take possession of the world. And I'm simply saying this, speak to your family, speak to your members. find your individual members of parliament and show them this video and just simply say, in the same way you all make your public statements with all the other activists and other voice notes you'll hear on the internet, please make a voice note that says what C. Allen said is pure BS. Just tell them. Just say, it only takes a minute. You tell the voice note 3 times a week. You're making all these other press releases. You got a whole office paying millions of dollars for the press. What's it? Trey Ramming and Clint Watson. Just tell them. Quickly pump up BIS. Elcott Cole being the rest of them. Punch up something and say, what C. Allen Johnson says is garbage. Please ignore it. You dismiss all the other immigration stuff. I'm saying immigration and leadership in our Bahamas is corrupt to the core. Corrupt means unfit for its purpose. And we can fix this by beginning to embrace technology, not tomorrow, today.
All right, we got to take our final break. I think that right there was your final word. But anyhow, let's take a break and see how much time we have left when we come back. Stay with us. Boy, a lot of food for thought on this show. We'll be back after this.
Blood sugar levels play a key role in your appetite, weight gain, and overall health. When you have a blood sugar spike, you can feel confused, dizzy, and even have increased cravings. Eating carbohydrates, sugary or fatty foods, and not exercising can all cause blood sugar spikes. But now you have help in managing blood sugar levels. Sweeties by Youngevity was designed to help support healthy blood sugar levels so you can power through your day. It's a synergistic blend of minerals, herbs, and nutrients that have been proven to support healthy blood sugar levels. Sweeties includes chromium, an essential trace mineral that's known for its contribution to healthy blood sugar levels and improved metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Cinnamon bark has been included for its naturally occurring antioxidants and support of a healthy heart. And we've even added gymnema. It's been used in Ayurveda for centuries to help promote healthy blood sugar. All the ingredients in Sweeties work together to give the best support available for blood sugar control. Sweeties, the blood sugar support supplement from Youngevity that helps control cravings and manage blood sugar levels through your day. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Even everyday exercise can lead to wear and tear on your body. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
All right.
I just need 10 seconds.
Boy, C. Allen, you don't know how to count.
No, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm saying. Thank you
All
for watching. Tune in next week or whatever for Grand Bahama. I want you to support all the sponsors you see on the show. And if you don't see a sponsor here, when you go shopping, ask them why they're not.
All right, that's a good 10 seconds. All right, next week, C. Allen will hopefully be back. And we are going to be talking about Grand Bahama and what's going on there. Until then, I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thanks, C. Allen, as always. And thank you to our audience who tuned in today. And hopefully we gave you something to think about. Until next time, tomorrow, TGIF Open Line Show, where you are my co-host and we talk about the week that was. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thanks so much for joining us and have a good afternoon.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions